पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु The confusion is two types of confusion. One, the pot is as real as anything else. There is a difference between a ghaṭa and pata. The pot is not cloth, cloth is not pot. There's a difference. Then we have the difference between clay and yarn. So this is one confusion, and therefore everything is different. Then when we ask the question, how come when I see the pot I always see the clay? How come I see the clay means it's cast. So if it's a clay pot, how come I see the pot at the same time I see clay? And another thing, how come I cannot think of a pot without thinking of some substance? Clay, copper or anything. I have to think of a substance. Please think of a pot without thinking of a substance. Come on. This is a challenge, eternal challenge. And so you cannot fulfill that. Please think of a pot. Nothing big, just a pot. Other things you require a lot of things. But here, think of only just a pot. Without thinking of clay, without thinking of copper, without thinking of brass, without thinking of plastic or styrofoam. Please think of a pot without thinking of something else. Why you can't do that? If it is a discrete object, different from everything else, why you can't think of? Therefore, this confusion we can knock off very easily, and therefore, this is mithya. This is one confusion, very big confusion. This is a universal confusion. And therefore, so they think of, look at this, they think of pot and think of clay separately. Clay is clay, pot is pot. Two different things. And then they extend this particular foolish thinking to God also. World is world, you are, God is God. Another guy. He becomes another person. So the confusion extended. And then everybody is locally not available and therefore give a locale elsewhere, beyond you. Therefore he is somewhere sitting. Your uncle is in Texas and God is in heaven. So there's location. This is how the whole thinking is. This confusion. Cause is elsewhere. The baker is elsewhere, the maker also is elsewhere. The maker of the Jagat, the entire world, is elsewhere. One confusion. The another confusion is, if I am able to convince this fellow before convincing, let us take, before convincing this fellow. Now, when I said a pot is clay, and therefore he thinks, and the clay has the attribute of, he has to accommodate, and therefore clay has the attribute of partness. Has the attribute of partness, because he can't put it elsewhere. If clay is clay, and the pot cannot exist without clay, and no adjective can exist without a noun, and therefore the noun is clay, and pot is an adjective attribute. Now I have to save the clay from the weight of pot, okay? And therefore I say, well, pot is clay, clay is not pot. Then the fellow says, now this is a real Oriental stuff. Because the Oriental stuff is, no answer is given, generally, and so no answer is given. You ask a question, and he will ask another question. And that is the Oriental stuff. And so, no answer, nothing is given. So think of the clap of one hand. Somebody does it. I don't know how he does it. And so, somebody does it. Think of, recently, day before yesterday, I saw a news item. And somebody, and he has gone into Guinness book. And he clapped so many times with one hand. So he does like this, somebody is clapping at the same time. So this is how it is. So it's a magic. In Guinness book, some magic. Clap with one hand. So like this you ask people to think something. You ask one question, another question you ask. So here, this is again a problem. Partness cannot be imputed to anything else. It has to stick somewhere. If it is a clay pot, it has to stick to clay. But my understanding of clay doesn't include partness, or cupness, or lidness, or jarness. It doesn't include, or brainness. It doesn't include. And therefore clay is clay. I understand clay as clay. It doesn't include any of this. Therefore poor partners, it has no place to go. I have no place to go. And this pot is complaining, I have no place to go. Then I accommodate you, okay, all right. All right, be there for some time. As though you are as though. You can't be taken as though you are an expatriate. So like Indians in Arab countries. So they are there to your workforce. Then any day you can be sent. No right. Not even a right to buy something there. You can't buy a house. You can only be on rent. That's how it is. They will buy all over the world. but you can't buy. That is how that mindset is like that. You are not equal. The values also. And so, just to be there is okay. Be in the clay for some time. But you have nothing to do with me. Clay tells, you have nothing to do with me. I remain clay. I will be always clay. You can't touch me. I will remain clay. I am asangaha. I am uninvolved. Okay? I am muddy. You can't touch me. So, ghaṭatvena yathā prithivī patatvenaiva tantavah vinirnīta vimūdena dehatvena tathātmatā. Yathā, Prithvi, Mother Earth, Ghatatvena vinirnīta, vimūdena, by a person who is a murkha, who refuses to think, vimūdena, the Prithvi, the clay, is taken to be in the form of ghata, ghatatvaṃ. It has got ghatatvaṃ. Prithvi, the clay, is taken as one that has got ghatatvaṃ. Ghatatvena vinirnīta, patatvena tantavah. The yarns, the threads, are taken to be one that has the attribute of patatvam, the clothness. This is the Nayayika. So he is answering Nayayika. Because two different things are brought together by a connecting link called samavaya. It's an imported stuff. Imported from imagination. From the land of imagination. Wild imagination. To connect pot and clay. And for which something else is there. That's why it looks as though they are one. Because he has to make pot also is real and clay also is real. The destruction of the absence of pot is the creation of pot. Seems to be very logical. The destruction of the absence of pot, the prior absence of pot, is the birth of pot. Seems to be very logical. What is pot? If you ask, he will say. So, what is the pratiyogi of the absence of pot? The pratiyogi, that which removes the absence of pot is pot. Therefore, Ghata Shabda Vachya Pratiyogi, Pratiyogitvam, Vachya Praga Bhavasya Pratibhogatvam. Ghata Shabda Vachya Praga Bhavasya Pratiyogitvam is Ghatasya. Ghataha, Pratiyogi Ghataha. The pot is the opposite of the the meaning of the word pot and its prior absence. Before it was born, the absence, pragabhava. So pragabhava, gata vachya, gata shabda vachya, pragabhava, pratiyogi, gata. Abba. Pot is opposite of the prior absence of the meaning of the word pot. What is pratiyogi? That which destroys the abhava. Abhava pratiyogi. So how can you destroy the abhava? How can you destroy the abhava? Abhava means absence. How can you destroy the absence? And do you require to destroy the absence? Huh? Hey, two jobs are there. You have to destroy the absence and you should get hold of the presence. You have no money, and suppose you have no money, and then you have to destroy the absence of money, and by getting hold of money. Hey, you got hold of money, that's enough. Absence, why should you destroy? You don't need to destroy absence because it doesn't exist already. What is absence? The presence is, what is present is destroyed. Then if the absence is there, then the absence can be anadi. There is no beginning. And so why should we destroy that? It is not, we don't require to be destroyed. Whether it is an adventitious absence or anadi absence, you don't need to destroy. Why? Because you cannot destroy. In destruction, there is absence. And therefore, already absence doesn't require to be destroyed. And he says the absence is destroyed when the birth of pot is taking place. Birth of pot is taking place, birth is taking place, that's all. No, absence is not destroyed. This is a big argument. Therefore, there is no absence also. Is another thing. What is absence? Is there such a thing called abhava? They have got many abhavas. Atyanta bhava, total non-existence. And then prakabhava, prior non-existence. And then the pradvamsa bhava, later non-existence, after the pot is destroyed, later non-existence. Then anyonya bhava, pot is not a cloth, cloth is not a pot. Therefore in the pot there is no cloth, in the cloth there is no pot. Anyonya bhava. But there are four abhavas. So what is the difference between the prior absence and the posterior absence, later absence? What is the prior absence and what is the difference between the two? Both are absence. So you have to see the difference between the two. And the atyanta bhava. What is this? It's all your kalpana, buddhi kalpana. And therefore, there is no question of ghaṭa and clay, two different things. And that's the one that he wants to prove, two different things. There's no two different things. What is there is clay. Therefore, so you cannot see the clay as one that has got intrinsic attribute ghaṭatvam, nor it is outside clay that ghaṭatvam. Therefore, it is mithya attribute. You can't dismiss it as non-existent. You can't prove it as existent. And therefore, you have in between. This in between is the entire Jagat. Kāraṇaṃ is Satyam Brahma. Karyam is in between. Therefore, Satyam Brahma. Karyam api Satyam Brahma. Then if you look at Karyam Where does it have its location? Well, the karyam is but kāraṇaṃ. Then kāraṇaṃ is karyam. Don't do that. Kāraṇaṃ is kāraṇaṃ. That is why moksha. Otherwise it becomes pantheism. There was one God and he became the world. So he made a mistake. Now he has become world, he doesn't exist at all. He exists in atoms and particles and poor fellow is gone. He made himself too thin, cut himself thin, into many. There is no God anywhere. Everything is God, but any one thing you take is only a particle. Particle, a got for further particles are there, they can't make it. But then, that's all. Poor God. Once upon a time, he was a big man. And became all these particles. Now he wants to get back. How you can get back the total? Descending, ascending, colon. Therefore, enough. Kanakam kuṇḍalatvena tarangatvena vai jagat. No, tarangatvena vai jalam. Vinirnītā vimūdhena dehatvena tathātmatā. Same idea. It is all vyavahara. Now vyavaharika kanakam kuṇḍalatvena vinirnītā vimūdhena. That is a sentence. Vimūdhena by vimūdha. Mūdaha means the one who has an erroneous perception. By this person who doesn't have clarity, no clear perception. Vimūdha. So vimūdhena, here you cannot say deluded and all that, because deluded means you require treatment. So it's not deluded. Even though maudhyam, we call it as delusion, and it can be also any erroneous vimūdha here is who doesn't see properly what is what. So, this what he did, vinirnītā, by him it is niścita. It is ascertained. It is taken. What is taken? Kanakam. The gold. Gold is taken. To have what? To have kuṇḍalatvaṃ. Earring, the hanging earring. That is called kuṇḍala. And kuṇḍalatvena vinirnītā kanakam. Now, this vimūdhena, the kanakam is the gold is taken to be vinirnītam, really speaking. And it is taken to be one that has got the attribute of kuṇḍalatvaṃ. If you say so, the earringness, it is the attribute of gold. If it is taken as the attribute of gold, wherever there is gold, it will be what? Kuṇḍalatvaṃ. You mind gold is kuṇḍalam. So, it is not like that. And therefore, even though the kundalam is gold, but gold doesn't have kundalatvam. Deha is Atma, Atma is not Deha. Understand? The Dehatvam is not there in the Atma. Atma is Shuddha Chaitanyam. It is in the form of consciousness, which has no limitation whatsoever. Kalataha, Deshataha, Vastutaha. It has no limitation. So limitless consciousness, time-wise limitless, space-wise limitless. Space-wise limitless means it's not located in any given place. The whole space itself is consciousness. Time is consciousness, anything time, space is consciousness. Consciousness is not any of them. Previously he dismissed the Jagat. Now he dismisses personal, the Deha. And this also is not true. Similarly, the jalam, water in the ocean, is indeed taken as wave, as one that has the wave quality, wave attribute, waveness. That's not true. Water is H2O, and it doesn't have waveness. But wave is water. Similarly here, same idea. Purushatvena yathāsthānuhu jalatvena marīchikā vinirnītā vimūdena dehatvena tatātmatā. Sthanuhu. What is there is sthanu. It is taken by a person who has no proper perception. As what? As one having purushatvam. Where there is purushatvam, there is purusha. A person is there because that person has got purushatvam. The personness is there. And therefore the sthanu is taken as a person having the status of being a purusha. The purushatva is an attribute of sthanu. This is purely subjective. There is something objective, there is something subjective. The difference is very simple. Both have the same mithyatva. One is, in that Panchadashi you will have, one is Jiva Srishti, the other is Ishvara Srishti. Jiva Srishti means you think, therefore it is. Ishvara Srishti means whether you think or not it is. So that is, if you don't think and if you drive, you don't see the bump that is there. Unnecessarily they have put all these bumps here. And therefore I don't know why. So they are useless bumps. And therefore some place, maybe one or two places where they go. And therefore one place is okay, but not all over. So anyway, these bumps are there. You don't expect bumps in an ashram. So you are within the campus, and therefore it should be easy, correct? It should be easy. Ashram, it must be easy. But then you find everywhere bumps. And so this speed breakers are there. And you don't see. That doesn't mean they disappear. Yes? If you don't see it disappears, means you will not, one will not have the third stage, fourth stage cancer. Okay? So one doesn't see. One doesn't see, one's doctor also doesn't see. And then both of them missed. One missed is natural, And the other one in mystery also is a litigation prone. It's litigation, yeah. The lawsuit is waiting. I went to my doctor 3 times. For one time for my gum trouble, another time for gastric trouble. But he didn't notice this at all. Hey, why should you notice? He's a specialist. And therefore, one fellow is interested in gum. He's a gumologist. And so this is... he is not... So why should he discover your cancer elsewhere? And so we can't discover that. So it's simply lawsuit. Poor fellow. Because neither the doctor discovered, nor the person discovered. The stage is 3rd or 4th. Very dangerous. So you don't see, therefore it doesn't exist. Silly. It's not subjectivism. Subjective idealism. I think, therefore it is. That means nobody will be poor. You think, that's why I say, Swamiji, I have all these bad thoughts. Don't worry. Oh, don't worry. Why? Because you have some good thoughts also. So when you buy the lottery ticket, jackpot lottery ticket, do you have a good thought or bad thought? I asked, are you positive or negative? I'm very positive, I hope I will win. That's why I buy. So then, you didn't win. You didn't win. Of course, Swamiji, never it comes. Therefore, if good thought, positive thought doesn't get actualized, then bad thought also will not get actualized. Therefore, worry about it. Worry about it. This is a silly thing to bother. Because all good thoughts don't realize. You have been dreaming of millions and nothing happened. Nothing happened. So why do you worry about bad thought? I always get bad thought. You have to shake. And he wants to shake off bad thought. Then you have to do all this time like this, without Parkinson. So this is all silly. Thought doesn't make anything. But behind every making, some thought are involved. Some thoughts are involved and something else also is involved. Understand? Before making anything, some thoughts are involved. You have to plan and you have to do and you have to will. All that is involved. But everything should go well. First thing is, one should not get heart attack. Then a few other things. Yeah, there should not be Saddam Hussein. And because Saddam Hussein comes and everything goes up, price goes up, you plan to make some profit. Now if you get back the capital, you are lucky. So that is a thing. Therefore, there are so many things that go away. Hidden variables. Known variables you cannot have control over. How can you have control over hidden variables? And therefore, so every accomplishment is backed by a thought and plus a few things. Good karma, whatever. But every thought doesn't become reality. Neither good thoughts nor bad thoughts. Therefore, this subjectivism is another nonsense. I create. You don't create anything. You create confusion. That is also because of certain order, Ishvara's order. What is here is Ishvara. And our capacity to be subjective also is given. And there is a background for that. Some people are more subjective than others. And that is because there is a background. That is Ishvara's order. If you want to be subjective, you cannot be. Because that is why consciously you cannot be subjective. Unconsciously you become subjective. And that means unconscious is given. And unconscious, nobody gathered consciously. And it is meant for saving you. It's a saving grace, really speaking. And therefore you are saved from panic death. When you are a child and you are innocent, you don't have any say over that. So the unconscious is a blessing. But blessing when you are a child. And if it is when you are 40-year-old, it is not a blessing. It's a nuisance. Okay? It's a nuisance. You are supposed to process that. And without processing, it becomes a nuisance. You don't know from where it comes from. And therefore, there is but Ishvara. There is nothing subjective also. The subjectivity is because there is unconscious, there is ignorance, and therefore you don't see things as they are. This is called Jiva Srishti, like in dream, like rope snake. This is Jiva Srishti. We have seen that. But pot is not Jiva Srishti, is Ishvara Srishti. Pot is a possibility. Is the clay itself. And the possibility is tapped, actualized. And that is Ishvara Srishti. There can be a pot. It can hold water until it gets cracked. Cracked pot also can hold water for some time. Okay? Not for a long time. Cracked pot, okay? And therefore, so there is order, Ishvara's order, given. Therefore we say Jiva Srishti, Ishvara Srishti. In Jiva Srishti itself is a possibility given by Ishvara's order. And the Jiva is given a capacity to reduce Jiva Srishti because it is false. It is one's own creation, one's own projection. In different degrees we project. We project certain exaggerated value upon things that don't have that value. An exaggerated value as though this is going to solve my problem. Money will solve my problem, name will solve my problem, power will solve my problem. In fact, it creates more problems on the way. Power means you will be creating enemies. You can't have power without enemies. Because everybody else also, there are many other fellows contending for the same power. And therefore you have to fight. You have to dig up about his past and present it to the world. He did this, he didn't do this, he did this, he didn't do this. He did this, he didn't do this. You have to tell all that. This is what power. It's all power crazy. Therefore somebody asked me, who is more crazy in this contest? The American presidency means that even the contender must be adequately crazy. Otherwise it is not possible. Because how you are well content? First you should get nominated, and then afterwards you have to beat all the fellows, and then dream about it, and then afterwards do it. And afterwards again contested, and two nominated people have to contest. And accusing each other, there should be a careful accusing, and you should not accuse directly, and that will go against you, and therefore you have to accuse diplomatically. And so this is all. You will accuse without accusing also, then you should not endorse that fellow, If you endorse that fellow, why do you contest? And therefore, don't endorse that fellow. Put him down, but without as though you are not putting down. And so it's crazy. It's a crazy act. Therefore, you must be sanely crazy. You must be adequately crazy. And then only you can contest. This is just impossible. That's why it doesn't occur to you, you should be the president of this country. It doesn't even occur to you, because you are too sane. If you are too sane, it won't work. You must be crazy to have that craze for power. And then only you can contest. Even the very thought is enough. If somebody has a thought of becoming the president, he is adequately crazy, not competently crazy. And so, even the thought, why it didn't occur to you? It never occurred to any of you to become the president. Why? Not that you are a vairagi. So, I am very dispassionate, I am not interested in presidency. No, come on. If it is given, it will be wonderful. So you can do wonders, really, because you, in fact, daily in the drawing room, you solve all the problems. So, you always talk to your wife. If I were the president, I would do this, I would do that. Very, very impressive. People create. Therefore, you understand this. There is such a thing as subjective. There is such a thing as objective. Why? Because one is adhyasa. You yourself project upon empirically what is real. You project. Exaggerated value. Power will solve all the problems. Money will solve all the problems. This will solve, that will solve. It doesn't solve. That's a projection. People are committed so much and they want it. Driven people. It's all power mongering. Adhyasa. Shobhana adhyasa. You see more than what is there, positively. And then where there is nothing to be, there is nothing to cause any fear to you, there you see a source of fear. Ashobhana adhyasa. You see danger where there is no danger, like rope snake. And fighting with shadows. So these two types of adhyasa, they are purely subjective. But within the Ishvara's Jagat, order of Ishvara, we can reduce subjectivity, increase objectivity. More objective you are, more dispassionate you are, more you are in touch with Ishvara's Srishti. You are more in harmony with Ishvara, in other words. There is no guilt, no hurt, there is more at-homeness. Being in the world, that is Ishvara. Therefore here, so you have this purely subjective Purushatvena yathā sthanuhu. Sthanu is Ishvara Srishti. Sthanum means a trunk of a tree. A trunk of a tree. tree is felled, a stump is there, the trunk is there. And children were playing kite. And one kite got involved, and then the kite is hanging there, 1 or 2 kites are there. In Gujarat, they have a big kite festival. Sankranti time? Yeah, January. January 14. Whole Gujarat. They all go to the terrace of the house to send up the kite. Sometimes they fall down. It's a very big thing. People get hurt. And it's a huge festival. And you will find all kites. Some kites fell down on this stump of a tree. And then this fellow was told, be careful. There is always one fellow who always tells, be careful. And be careful, this route, there are a lot of robbers are there. Be careful. So he has been very careful. Saw this fellow with his dhoti, Jangavastra flying. That is the tail of the kite flying. And he's standing there. Such a big fellow, big knees, big trunk. And such a big fellow. Oh. Fear. This is subjective. Objective is, there is a kite, there is a stump of a tree. That is Ishvara Srishti. Even suppose the kite was made by a human being, it is Ishvara Srishti. You must understand that. It is Ishvara Srishti. A kite is possible. The possibility is given. All the materials are given. That it can fly is given. Everything is given. And this fellow who makes, his hands are given, his buddhi is given, everything is given. That is Ishvara Srishti. The chair on which I am sitting is Ishvara Srishti. And the one who is sitting also is Ishvara Srishti. It's not put together by my mother or father. That is also Ishvara Srishti, this is also Ishvara Srishti. Even though you trace some address of this fellow who made a furniture, you can't put your hand because it has got ornament. Ornament means it hurts you. So you can't. This is ornament, idiotic ornament. And this is, just look at this here, it's very sharp. You can't put your hand here. And he has got something here. Something here, cushion. Not here. So trace the fellow and educate this fellow. But it is Ishvara Srishti. That fellow also is Ishvara Srishti. But Ishvara gave him something and he has to use it. And the possibility of using and learning and missing, all that is there. Possibility is given. It's all Ishvara Srishti. And therefore the sthanu is objective. That stump of a tree is objective. And it is taken to be one having the attribute of a person. Purushatvam. A person standing there. That purushatvena yathā sthanuhu. This sthanu vinirnitam. Purushatvena Sthanuhu Nishchitaha Vinirnitaha. By whom? One who doesn't have proper perception, vimudena. That is a continuum. That is the rhyme of the verse. It repeats itself. So vimudena sthanuhu. Then again another one. Jalatvena marichika vinirnita. Marichika vinirnita. Marichika is desert. Vinirnita is taken, ascertained, taken to be what? To be one having water. During the day, you are thirsty, walking on these sands. There you see, there is full of water, looking for water. And you find water. You go there, sands. But then look back. Oh, there was water there. Then only you understand. And now I walk that way. There was no water. And it looked water here. And therefore there is no water. There is no water. That side also, this side also enlightened. What enlightened? Then there is no water. It was my own projection. No, my own projection. So it is all Jiva Srishti. But it looked as though there is water. That is Ishvara Srishti. Combinations you can say. As though that is Ishvara Srishti. The stump is Ishvara Srishti. Therefore, this body also, Ishvara Srishti. Atma is the truth of Parameshwara and Jiva. Satchidananda Atma. But then Atma Dehatvena Vinirnitaha. Atma is taken to be one that has the attribute of Deha. That is personal Srishti. So this is private limit. It's a personal limited. This is Jiva Srishti. That is what we can knock off. We need not knock off the body. We don't need to knock off the body. And therefore, only Jiva Srishti we have to reduce and then knock it off. You reduce with reference to your perceptions, priorities, value structure, everything. And neutralizing ragadveshas, attitudes, and these are all very important. And then knock this fellow off. By saying, this ahankara, he is Atma, Atma is not ahankara. Then you can have an enlightened ahankara to get up. Okay? Otherwise you can't get up. Atma Satchidananda will sit forever. And therefore, so this is the time to get up. Om Purnamada Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om